Welcome with Jesus Bible Study. Going to be in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 12. He that is void of wisdom despises his neighbor, but a man of understanding holdeth his peace. And I'll repeat that. He that is void of wisdom despises his neighbor, but a man of understanding holdeth his peace. It is easy to lash out at others, as with a knee-jerking reaction. All it takes is just wisdom and patience to hold our tongues and to hold our peace. It's not always the right time and place to shout, especially to shout out accusations at others, even when others are in the wrong. And it matters also in the manner in which we deal with others, especially when it's their fault. You know, sometimes when we're correcting or pointing out other things in the manner we do it, they would not see the errors of their ways. If we're coming out hard and angry and loud, they're not going to hear you. Already your temperament, your energy is already coming out and they can feel it, and then so they're automatically bringing up their defensive energy, which means they're not going to hear anything that you're saying because now they're set in a mode of defense. And anytime somebody's already on the defensive mode, they're automatically going to think that they're in the right, because they're ready to defend themselves at whatever cost. You put them there. It'll be hard for them to see the correction when they're ready to defend themselves. You put them in a corner. They had no choice but to. And that's why it's very important that you must not do things in anger. When you're upset, it's very hard, I know, especially when you're a very passionate person and you wear your emotions on your sleeves. But we got to remember at certain times we've got to walk away, go somewhere, separate ourselves from people, pray to God, vent, yell at the wall, whatever it is that makes you mad, so you can get it out. Sometimes you just need to say the words, just to get out your frustration. Murmur to yourself, just keep it out, keep it going. You know, talk it all out. You don't have to particularly talk to anybody. Just the fact that you're getting it out is already bringing your anger level down. Sometimes talking to yourself, you can hear clearly of yourself of how you sound. Then you can find the correct words that need to be said, or the correct way to go about it. But you can't expect anybody to understand you. You can't expect anybody to see how they are wrong when you've already put them in the defensive mode. It's hard. Because sometimes when you are on that emotional feeling ride, when you go from 0 to like 2,000, you can get there in 90 seconds. But to come down from that level doesn't exactly happen that way. You can't go from 2,000 backwards to 100 to 1 to nothing, you know. It doesn't happen that quickly, but you can get there that fast. But coming down is a whole nother story. People can't do that. They can't see the correction that way. Sometimes not saying nothing at all doesn't mean that you're ignorant or stupid. It just means you're wise enough to know better, that sometimes it doesn't need to be said, that person would eventually see for themselves. That person would eventually get it. So why waste the time of saying something? Some people don't learn that way. They only learn by figuring out for themselves. And the moment that somebody tells them about themselves, they will never be able to see it for themselves, and they'll never listen to you. So therefore, they'll never know how to correct themselves. So sometimes it's better left unsaid. And that's why it's speaking that, to is wisdom. If you were to, keep your mouth closed when you're holding your peace. It is more harder to be the bigger and better person. With great power comes great sacrifices. You got to know when it is best just to let it go, to walk away, knowing that things would eventually figure themselves out. Why stir up things when it doesn't need to be done? See, God will correct them. Sometimes you don't need to be the one correcting people all the time. See, God has his plan up there, and sometimes he don't need you to be stepping in. Sometimes he does. Sometimes when you're doing that, you're not teaching that person a lesson. God's teaching you a lesson about yourself. Because when it didn't go out the way you planned it would, by opening your mouth and butting in, maybe you need to step back and say, oh, see, they didn't learn a thing. Maybe that lesson wasn't for them to learn. It was for you to learn. God's funny that way. Because you'll sit there and eat yourself up like, man, he wouldn't listen to the word I said, and blah, 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 and it just ain't right. He will just never learn. Maybe God's telling you, well, what have you learned? Have you learned that that's how the way that you were supposed to approach people? Have you learned, was that your business to be butting in the first place? See, God's really great. And when he does one thing, he's not just doing one thing, he's doing a million things. Just as we learned when we're reading the Bible, how we get more than one thing from each individual verse. Not only are we hearing the names of people in the Bible, but their names actually have significant meanings to certain things. We're like, oh, we didn't know that. The places that happen in certain parts of the Bible for certain stories. Not only was it that story there, but the name of the place that happened to be means something that has to do with that story. God works like that. So he's not just teaching one person a lesson. There's a lesson to be learned by everybody in that situation. No matter what we're doing, we need to sit back sometimes and just think like, ooh, God, what was you trying to tell me? God, what was you wanting me to learn from that? What did I need to see from that, dear God? Because it's not always in bad situations, even in blessings, even in great things. There's great lessons to be taught, great things to be learned in any and everything that we do. See, not only do our lives have a purpose, but every single thing that happens in your life has a purpose. Everything has a meaning. Holding a door open for somebody had a purpose and a meaning. We may not have seen it, we may not have known it, but that person could have had to bury the most awfulest week, and you just held that door for them, and they went home and said, oh man, I was about to lose my mind. But you know what? The moment that that person held the door for me, I calmed down and realized there is some kindness in the world. See, everything has a purpose. Every grain of sand matters. Every hair on your head is numbered for a reason. The words we speak, all is a purpose, either life or death. The positivity, the negativity. Everything is meaningful. There's something to learn from everything that we